Well, I hope you didn't think that Cosmonarchy was over. It's still going, and we still have this series between the Shambler and Hupsaiya on Germination. Will we see more Hupsaiya action? He's once again starting in the top left, and the Shambler in the bottom right. And I've noticed Hupsaiya, he does like to give his opponents a little bit of a head start, where he waits a sec, he talks to his chat, he loads into the game, and he's like, whoa, it loads immediately. It doesn't have a stupid esports countdown like Starcraft 2. Well, that's crazy, guys. Whoa, it doesn't have a loading screen like Starcraft 2. That's really weird, guys. I wonder what's going on. Why am I instantly in the game? I will say, I'm being a little bit funny, but a long time ago, I conceptualized a landing sequence, if you will, so that, like, obviously when you load into the game, there'd be, like, that half second of, like, playing partway through the landing animation of the Ministry, and then you'd have control of your units. And the thinking is that it's like, I mean, you'd probably have control instantly, but the idea is that, like, maybe it gives you that little half second you need to get acclimatized or whatever, right? So you'd pop in here, the Masons would already be on this side, you know, awaiting orders. And then the landing would finish, and it's like, okay, I've deployed now. And like the Nexus would finish warping in or something for the Protoss, and the hatch would finish finishing. You know, it would finish morphing. In that sense, for the Zerg, I feel like stuff like that could be really cool. Anyway, so it's an idea and something to think about. Hupsaiya has gone for a much earlier scout just so that he can harass and tickle the Mason here. I love seeing this because it's supposed to happen. Protoss are supposed to tilt Terran players before they even build their first structure. That's how it's supposed to be. And we do actually have a very forward gate here on the... I was going to say the medium ground, but specifically it's like outside of the natural choke. It's kind of interesting there. I like that. So Maverick going to see if it can chase down the Scribe. It will have to go for a stim pack here, which is going to allow Hupsaiya to maybe wound that unit a little bit before the inevitable death. Total death, total worker death, total Protoss death, as Alexander says at the beginning of every one of his matches. And, you know, I gotta say, I forgot to scout on the smiley face. For some reason, that really got me this morning. All right, guys, we're feeling the vibes today. Second gate coming for Shambler's opponent, Hupsaiya, for Shambler's is bad, apparently. He's going triple racks. We'll see what he can do. That's some funny shit. This is, once again, Germination by Biddy B. You can see the ridge has been added over here. We still have the interesting line of resources over there. Nothing has changed since the last cast. Maybe it will change before we round into the next gauntlet. By the way, we do have that gauntlet going on right now. The way that things work in Cosmonarchy's esports scene, if you can call it that, I call it that very hesitantly because obviously if people think we're focusing on esports before we make a game, then that would be a bad shout. But if Hupsaiya's not careful, he could end up losing the Draken. It looks like Shambler is going to go ahead and commit to it, so that's kind of interesting. You can see how fast they move, how fast they shoot. It's quite the battle here, but he's going to have to expend another stim if he wants to catch these bad boys. He's gonna go ahead and do a full surround, and Hupsaiya, he looked away for just a second there, and in a flash, the Maverick stormed it. No, come on, dude, that's actually a sick thumbnail potentially. Is the Mavericks surrounding the Drakenons with the bushes and shit? Like, what is this, huh? What kind of project has jungle tiles on desert? Pretty legit. Gonna go for it again. Remember, there's not that much throughput over here for Hupsaiya. He will end up losing that Drakenon if he's not careful. Second pylon has just gone down. Oh, he's going to try to hit this guy before the flash shielding kicks in and fully heals him, but I think Hupsaiya has done enough. The kiting is intense. The kiting is happening. The second Drakenid finishes. He narrowly avoids losing this Drakenid. I can't believe he did it, honestly. I can't believe it. I feel like with a little bit more focus fire from Shambler, he would have been all right. He kept his money low as well, producing double Mason, right, with the quarry and stuff. Double Huracan. We love the Huracans, but you need more minerals, more Mavericks. Imagine. There should be a race, like, you know, we should add in a unit that literally is a mineral, and you just throw them out there and be like, oh, we need more minerals. And, you know, they obviously cost gas to make. That would be the ultimate haha. Now we have the Zealots coming, so the front line is going to be taking shape for our Protoss player. He can't really step to this. There's too many Huracans. Shambler has an interesting bio theory where he believes that you should be building 2 Huracans per Maverick. And I think that's a little silly because of stuff like this. You actually need the overwhelming ranged force to make the melee actually useful, because otherwise the kiting will just destroy you. But you know what? Maybe if he had like 6 more Harakans here, then maybe then he would actually have been able to make that push. I don't know. But he's going to try to hold on to the range advantage over here using these ramps. Bio just ain't it. Dude, he was winning. What's he talking about? Oh, stim pack Ken. Now, I like that. He stimmed after Hupsaiya fell down, so Hupsaiya didn't hear the audio cue, which is pretty cool as like a little mind-gamey strategy. I suppose we could add like an audio visual read to it too. And Newt is over here to add into the naysayers. I do like what I do like what Hupsaiya says about about Terran players being crybabies, because I think it does end up ringing true at the end of the day. So he's going to go ahead and chase away his opponent. The Harakan's going to gather up the ramp. We do have a single treasury coming, but still 3 stockade production here and some mineral float to boot. Could definitely see some more units being made here. He's going to end up seeding this ground. That was rude. Dude, you have no idea. Shambler literally typed lay down and die to his opponent while winning. And then Jack Yelansky wrote dies in asterisk, which is also funny. Well, there you go. The treasury is complete. Can now lift off and fly over to greener pastures if any of those actually exist. 3 gate, 3 stockade. I wonder who wins. I have to incorporate "you're really bad" to the thumbnail now. It's a skill issue always. I think so, actually. I like the cut of Hupsaiya's jib here. Now, of course, if he was on the losing end, then he would definitely be... if he was on the losing end, he would be in the lead. With that kind of talk, he'd be like, actually, this is OP or whatever. That's how he would cope with that. So, you got to remember, these are... We actually have 3 typers in this. I didn't even know Newt was here. He's the only spec. Okay, I was just checking the whether or not he was the only witness there. So the treasury has not made landfall just yet. But we do have some Cyprians out, and the Harakans are going to do pretty well at melting these Zealots. That's going to allow the Draconans to thus take some more fire. Love to see that. Now, is he going to get that down? He is. And an Ardent Authority has been started in the meanwhile, transferring some of those freshly minted workers. We've got 25 mineral harvesters here. And remember, there's, it looks like there are 9 mineral fields in this map. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's 8. So 8 mineral fields in this map means that 18, or 16 rather, is peak efficiency for your saturation. And if you add more, you'll still get more minerals, but the extra workers will be worth less. It'll be like half of a worker's worth of efficiency. So at around 16, you want to start transferring to a second base. Also kind of gives you a good idea of like, okay, if I have, say 3 gas harvesters and 16 mineral harvesters, or whatever, 4 for the sake of argument, that means that by 20 workers, I should have my second base up and running, right? On average for all the races, sometimes earlier. It doesn't hurt either. And so that kind of gives you an idea of like the pace, the absolute final time you can expand. If you don't expand by the time you have 20 workers, if your second expansion isn't done by the time you have 20 workers, you're probably a little bit on the low side. And it can be fine. It's flexible. Like maybe you've done a lot of tech, or maybe you've done a lot of army or something, and that's why maybe the game state is a little bit awkward here. I do like this little potential Zealot flank coming out from 6 o'clock here. There's a Maverick wisely placed by Shambler to guard from that. He's got a very nice little spread over here, although some of his Harakans are in the back line. And the Zealots are going to make their march in. Now, is this going to result in a total change-up? Because the Draconans over here without any Zealot support are not going to be in the best of positions. So now here comes the Zealot flank on the other side. We do have to watch both of these fights because there are some Harakans over here, and they are going to be handling the Zealots. But here come the Draconans trying their best to focus down things like the Cyprians. However, with all of the Zealots taken care of, thanks to Ahmed, the Harakans reign supreme. Now, only 1 Draconan went down. And that was still, I would say, like it was an acceptable trade for Hupsaiya. He didn't end up focusing down any Goliaths, it looks like. Maybe there was 1 Goliath corpse in there. It's hard to see. And, that means that it was probably a little bit more on the... Oh, yeah, we've got a 3rd Vestry. He's going to be triple Cleric for the Goliaths. He's going to transfer into the winning composition from before, adding 2 more Fulcrums to his natural. Obviously, we've got a 3rd base all the way up here for Hupsaiya, and his, he's going to be going for the drops, it looks like. At least he has a Cantors and an Embassy, so I assume he's going to be going for drops at some point. Got the double a Cantor right now. You can only fit 1 a Cantor in an Envoy, so it's not like the double drop that you would sometimes get. If you're going to do a double drop, you need 2 separate Envoys, so got to keep that in mind. But he's queuing up a lot from the Embassy, so I guess maybe he's just going to slow crawl them across the map. They'll get there eventually, and they will absolutely wreak havoc on this composition. 4 workers at a time for Hupsaiya, stretching up towards that 100 worker count. We do have another Maverick being wisely put over here, and it will actually catch the Drakid and move out, so this is going to cause the Shambler to return to his roots, see if he can hold off the onslaught on the third base. What are we going to see out of this engagement here? We did have a stem go down on the Mavericks to put out a little bit of extra DPS. I like the focus fire onto the Clerics, and just the general kiting. You know, it's working out so far for Hupsaiya, but a lot of these frontlining Drakidins are very, very low, so it looks like the Shambler will evict his opponent, killing 4 Drakidins in the process. He lost a Cleric, a bunch of Mavericks, and maybe a Hurakan. Yeah, we'll take those. Third base coming up, but at the same time, Hupsaiya is already setting up his 12 o'clock. Base number 4, and we are going to see some Architects. Now, the Acantors are grouped up with the Zealots. It's hard to imagine a bigger disparity in movement speed, but I mean, I guess you could just add Legionnaires to that list. We've obviously got a pretty large number of mech units coming out now. We do have some Vultures finally on the way. The production of Vultures is a really good thing at pretty much all stages of the game, especially in early mid. Vultures obviously are pretty good combat units in the early game. They will eventually get outscaled, kind of like, I would say they kind of get outscaled in Starcraft 1 as well, but obviously they, you know, when you get upgrades in the mix and stuff, they can do things like pick off worker lines a lot easier and whatnot. It's a little bit different in Cosmonarchy because the static defenses are can be more powerful. But the main thing that you want them for is laying down the mines, right? Now, in current Cosmonarchy, they give you 2 mines. I have been thinking about reverting that to give you 3 instead, but the Vulture itself is a lot more useful as a combatant. So even though it will eventually get outscaled, and this time around he's going to go ahead and scout. He might have seen the Acantor if he was paying attention. I'm not 100% sure. The fact that he's moving out here kind of suggests to me that he doesn't, because you usually want the cliff advantage versus the Acantors. But here they are. They've managed to make the crawl. Now, Hupsaiya is not actually engaging with them. This is a huge bit of a blunder here. Or is it? Because he might be baiting his opponent to come on in. Like, go after those juicy battle worms here. The Acantors are obviously going to wreak havoc on the splashed up, the crowded up lines over here. And the Architects in the back line getting a lot of splash damage taken care of. Now that's a juicy hit right there. That's going to pop a number of them. Now, one of the Acantors does go down, but at this point, I still feel like this ball of Hupsaiya units, the mostly robotics units that are left over, because a lot of the gateway units have been killed by now, it feels like they're in a pretty strong position. And the Atlas is now done. So once we get some Sentinels up, it'll be a lot harder for the Acantors to find some mileage. However, the Architects will still be able to do a little bit here and there. And we see double Ancestral Archives somewhere. Okay, it's in the main. And I like this play. I think this actually works out really well. You can drop a Crucible here as well for the very heavy gas cost that it is. We'll see if Hupsaiya wants to do that. He's taking top right. So that's going to be pretty efficient for him. And yeah, I don't really know if Shambler is... I mean, he's dropped another Ministry, but I don't know if he's really going to be in a good position to actually make use of it anytime soon, because his 6 o'clock is currently being guarded by like a single Zealot or something. Now, Hupsaiya is using Legionnaires as a bit of a spike up in the late game, or the mid game, I should say, because he's going to be able to hit these Goliaths very, very nicely with them. And they struggle versus crowd control, right? All the Cyprians have been wiped out earlier. So that's a total army wipe here. And with Hupsaiya taking the lead in terms of military units, it's just going to be way, way too much for the Terran to deal with. Now, we are going to see an Anchor started. I would love to see some Sentinels on the way as well. A bit of a mineral float coming now for Hupsaiya, but he did add a couple more gateways. His Crucible's on the line. His 2 Ancestral Archives are finished, so he can start spending that money. Again, 1 o'clock is in production here for Hupsaiya, but I think this is a very scary push with 4 Architects, and we don't see any Phalanxes to counter artillery. We don't see any Sentinels down. They are coming down in the back line, but there's not going to be any cliff advantage for that. Hurakan's coming to the fight a little bit on the late side. The Anchor already taking some damage before it even gets loaded, and the Shambler will call GG. Well, we've got another round here for us to take a look at, so let's jump straight into the next game now that Hupsaiya has tied things up. So this time around, the Shambler will be in the top left. Hupsaiya will be in the bottom right. Love to see that. Love to see the different spawns. So, interestingly enough, the adaptation that I saw from Hupsaiya wasn't just to use the Ardent Authority units first. The Acantors definitely did a lot of good damage. The Architects were pretty useful, especially as the stack increased. But I would also say that he recognized that the Shambler's composition really struggled versus crowds. And he also had a lot of gateways that he added in the middle of the game, which allowed him to pump out non-stop Legionnaires. Those are those teleporting melee units for the Protoss. They are individually a lot less durable compared to the Zealot, so it's something that you have to worry about in that context. But I still think it's worth pointing. I don't know what is going on with these chat messages, but I still think it's worth pointing out in that context, right? Because it's like, when you're okay, to put it another way, if you're already struggling to deal with crowds, it almost doesn't matter that the individual units might be less healthful, like less durable. It matters a little bit more that there's just such an overwhelming number of them. And that's why they're called Legionnaires, because you can make them in a legion. There's so many of them. They train faster than Zealots. They cost less minerals than Zealots. And they obviously, Zealots and Legionnaires both don't cost any Vespene. We do have a Lattice coming in, so this is an interesting opener, a very, very different look. And the Maverick is going to go ahead and do its best to get rid of the Scribe. It's going to have to stim after it once again. But you don't mind burning one stim to kill the worker, you know? Or maybe Shambler does mind burning one stim to kill the worker. But he might actually just be waypointing Mavericks across the map. Let's find out. No? I'm looking for the rally? No, it's just to the ramp. Okay, never mind. I thought maybe he would go all the way. So I think it is an objective mistake to not burn one stim to kill the worker. You know, that's one of the reasons why you go Stockade first, is to shut out scouting of your follow-up, because you could go one Stockade. You could be doing some gas harvesting like Shambler's doing to go for, you know, one Stockade into maybe a Fulcrum or something of that effect. I mean, he's got a lot of minerals, so I don't know exactly what he's thinking about. There's a treasury. Okay, it's a one Stockade fast expand with some gas for maybe like a fast Covenant or something. I'm not really 100% sure. We'll look at that build a little bit later on. And Simulacra are being produced by Hupsaiya. Okay, I did see a match. I guess this must be the same one, actually. I quickly forwarded it through it, but we're going to be in for a treat here. I'm pretty sure. This is, so he cancels the attack. The Simulacra, if it takes hull damage, will start to split and give you another free Simulacra after 5 seconds. So it's very good. It's very good. Or is it? Because we haven't actually seen it being used really at all. So a Fulcrum is on the way. A Cyprian is on the way. That's going to be the early Vespene for the Shambler, accounted for. And he does have 3 workers on gas now, so he's going to be fully saturating that geyser. Not really interested in the ridge just yet. Treasury's going to lift off and head elsewhere. Looks like he's going to start harvesting from the ridge with the leftover workers. A couple sims being just doing up to no good, up to shenanigans. Moving across the map now. And with double lattice, and it's only simulacrums, I mean, Hupsaiya does have some Vespene banked, so we'll see if he wants to accompany the sims with any particular tech. A fast quarry. Okay, that's another 100 Vespene that could be used to, you know, anything else. So, you know, okay, is Shambler just going to ignore this threat? Is he going to underestimate the threat? It's hard to say. Oh, whoa, hold on. Hupsaiya actually managed to get away with most of those units. He's kind of luring these Mavericks in, and now the stim's going to wear off. Here's another one just for good measure for blocking. Okay, no actual kills just yet, though. Okay, there we go. We're starting to turn the fray here. Remember, there was no add-on being added to those stockades, so now we're in a bit of a rough spot where the Cyprian wasn't with that fight. We'd have a Goliath coming. Okay, I don't know if I like the Goliath in this context, but I guess if you can't get a critical mass of Cyclops, they can overwhelm. Honestly, I think Shambler's in a huge amount of trouble here. You don't want to be in this situation as the Terran. Like, you need to deal with this threat. And a little bit of micro goes a long way with the Simulacrum. They're ignoring the Cyprian for the most part. They're just killing off all of the repairmen, because you can repair bio in this. Goliath finally pops out, but it's already taken so much damage. Yes, it's doing an okay job of focusing down the low HP Sims. Okay, maybe he's going to hold. He might be able to hold with the repairs. But again, look at how far ahead, economically speaking, Hupsaiya is. I mean, he's got almost enough money to expand. He's got plenty of Vespene in the back. He hasn't spent any Vespene on this army at all because they're all minerals. The anchor is going to go down without getting canceled. And what do you do now? You've got more sims arriving. Can you stabilize long enough? You know, you need maybe a finished anchor over here. Wasn't able to do that. Quarry might go down. That's 100 Vespene down the drain. It's just a Goliath. The Goliath is proving pretty efficient versus these low HP ones, but losing the quarry is pretty bad. You know, again, it puts Shambler further behind. We got some mines being laid down. Laying down these mines at all feels like you're conceding the territory, but you know what? It's going to be good enough to stun 4 of them. Obviously not going to be enough to engage on that because there's so many of them. And we have 2 anchors being started on the high ground. What can you do in this situation if you're in Shambler's shoes? The lobotomy mine, this one's already wounded from being laid down earlier. The workers are now starting to be focused. And look at that! He stuns his own Goliath with that mine. That's a little bit of a fumble. But you know what? Is it going to be enough? The Goliath falling is kind of the nail in the coffin. The anchors are not going to finish in time, and the Shambler leaves without a GG. I love Simulacra. Well, that's some TVP for you. Hupsaiya going up 2-1 in the set so far. We will have another match to cast, and we'll see if that particular one goes the way of the Protoss, or if the Terran can tie things up after the fact. Thanks for joining us, and see you guys for part 3 tomorrow.